girls should have never been in that courtroom. I don't know who thought it was a good idea for those young ladies to be in that courtroom as their father's sex life has been put on display.
His encounters with Diddy and Cassie, and he talked about the fact that Diddy liked to pleasure himself while watching Danielle and Cassie doing their thing. This was so graphic, apparently. Diddy's 3 daughters twice got up and left the courtroom. He talked about baby oil.
Diddy's daughters storming out of the courtroom when the details got way too graphic? That moment hit hard. It's gotta be one of the most heartbreaking scenes from this whole trial so far. Like, how twisted do things have to get for your own kids to be sitting front row while some of the most disturbing claims ever made about you are being laid out in court? The word is, Diddy's own team told him straight up, bringing the younger ones into that courtroom chaos was a bad move. They warned him, but Diddy? He said no, he wanted them there. Why? Sources say it was all about the image, keeping up appearances. Now insiders are spilling that his daughters are not doing okay. Pressure's crushing them. Panic attacks, constant anxiety, getting harassed online and at school. It's gotten so bad they've been rushed into therapy just to stay afloat. And the whispers won't stop. People are even asking, did Diddy's girls really witness him laying hands on Kim Porter? That question alone has folks shook. And if it's true, the damage runs even deeper than we thought.
About to play the Freakoff videos, and guess who's sitting front row? Diddy's sons are in the courtroom this morning.
Are folks finally starting to put the pieces together? Let's get into it. So now Diddy's sons are showing up in court, sitting there like everything's all good. What is it with these powerful men suddenly flipping the devoted dad switch and clutching Bibles the second they're hit with wild accusations? It's like they all use the same playbook. Diddy's out here in the courtroom, thumbing through scripture like it's gonna erase what people are saying about him. And let's be real, it's all part of the script. Blaming it all on a dark chapter when you didn't know better? Check. Bringing the kids around to soften up the jury so they start thinking, no way a sweet family man like that could be guilty. Check. But here's the twist. It's his own kids, especially his daughters Chance, Jessie, and Delilah, who are carrying the weight of that act.
He detailed his encounters with Diddy and Cassie, and he talked about the fact that Diddy liked to pleasure himself while watching Danielle and Cassie doing their thing. This was so graphic, apparently. Diddy's 3 daughters twice got up and left the courtroom. He talked about baby oil, how Diddy wanted him to rub baby oil all over Cassie and Cassie to rub it all over him.
Sources say Jessie and Delilah were so traumatized by what they heard in court, details about Diddy's wild freak-offs, that they bolted out of the room. And they're not the only ones who were stunned. Even grown folks in there couldn't handle it. This wasn't some minor slip-up. This was heavy. And right from day one, the prosecution came out swinging. Their first witness? Officer Israel Flores, a cop who was on duty as hotel security at the Intercontinental back in March 2016. The tension in that courtroom? Off the charts. Officer Israel Flores took the stand, and what he shared left people stunned. He said one day while working security at the Intercontinental Hotel, he got a call about a woman in distress. So he headed upstairs to check things out, and who did he run into in the elevator lobby? None other than Diddy and Cassie. Now here's where things get murky. Instead of stepping in or calling backup, Flores said he just walked them back to their room. He claimed there was no clear victim at the moment, and neither one of them seemed interested in pressing charges, so he figured there was no need to call the cops. But here's the bombshell. Flores also testified that Diddy tried to slip him an envelope stuffed with cash. Straight up hush money. Flores said he turned it down, but looking back, he might be regretting that call, because not long after, he saw Cassie leaving the hotel with a purple eye. Yeah, a black eye like that doesn't just come from nothing. In her lawsuit, Cassie laid it all out. She said Diddy regularly paid people off to keep quiet, even the cops, which raises a chilling question. How many times did she reach out for help and just get sent back to the same man who was hurting her? Was it fear or money that kept folks from stepping in?
Those girls should have never been in that courtroom. I don't know who thought it was a good idea for those young ladies to be in that courtroom as their father's sex life has been put on display. No, let's be for real. Delilah, Jessie, I don't know if Chance was there, but none of those young ladies should have been in that room. I know they're trying to do the sympathy card, having those kids sit there behind him and cry and look like they're scared, which they are scared. But It's not appropriate. That has got to be some hard stuff to digest, especially having a male escort detail what this man allegedly did to the ex-girlfriend that he was dating. We say traumatized? I can say traumatized. Honestly, if Diddy was smart, he would tell them no longer to show up in court. Do not show up here. Do not allow them to be put through that. They've already gone through enough. Why would you allow them to go into that courtroom knowing good and well your whole life that is in the dark is about to come to light? No child should see that shit.
After Flores, the courtroom was already shaken, but things got even darker when the second witness was called. This time, an escort named Daniel Phillip, and what he said, unreal. He testified that he used to get paid between $4,000 and $6,000 every time he participated in what they called a freak-off with Cassie. The room went dead silent after that. What Daniel Phillip described next took the courtroom to a whole new level of disturbing. He claimed that during those freak-off sessions, Diddy wasn't just lurking in the background. He was directing the whole thing like some twisted film director. Daniel said Diddy would tell them exactly what roles to play, what positions to get into, and all the while he'd be sitting in the corner watching and handling himself. But that's not even the worst part. According to Daniel, Diddy would specifically instruct him on when and where to finish. He even pushed for Daniel to finish inside Cassie. Without any protection, Daniel made it clear he wasn't okay with that, so he pretended. But Diddy kept pressing him like, "You sure you did it?" It was clear he wanted full control of every detail, no matter how risky or uncomfortable it got. And it gets even sicker. Daniel said Diddy forced him and Cassie into some extremely degrading acts, like golden showers, which Cassie clearly didn't consent to. She was choking, gasping for air, and Diddy? He didn't care. He kept going like it was all a game. Daniel also said it was usually Cassie who set up the meetings, but during the first one, she asked if he'd be okay with her husband watching. That husband? Diddy, wearing a cap pulled low and a bandana hiding his face. These sessions weren't quick either. Some dragged on for 10 hours straight, and Diddy reportedly recorded almost all of them. Every single time. That courtroom wasn't just quiet, it was frozen. Daniel didn't just talk about what happened in those freak-offs. He also shared how Diddy made sure he stayed silent. At one point, Diddy even snapped a photo of Daniel's driver's license. No words needed. The message was crystal clear. If you speak, something bad's gonna happen. But what really shook the room was when Daniel said he saw Diddy physically abusing Cassie multiple times. One time, Diddy called out to her and she didn't respond quick enough. That's all it took. He dragged her into another room and got violent. Another time, Daniel saw him pulling Cassie by her hair like she was nothing, and even chucking a bottle at her in a fit of rage. It didn't stop there. Daniel said there were plenty of moments where Cassie showed up with her face bruised up, serious injuries. But every time he asked her about it, she'd freeze up, look scared, and just say, "I'm fine," like she'd been trained not to speak up. The fear? You could almost feel it in Daniel's voice. Hearing all that in the courtroom, it was brutal. You could almost hear hearts breaking. So when Diddy's daughters, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie, had to sit there listening to every horrifying detail, it's no wonder they cracked. The word is, they're the ones taking it the hardest. These are young girls hearing nightmare-level stuff about their own father, and it's messing them up bad. Diddy's daughters couldn't take it anymore. They straight up ran out of the courtroom during Daniel Phillip's testimony. It was too much. And when they finally came back, it was only after pulling themselves together. That move alone speaks volumes. But according to insiders close to the family, it's the twins, Jessie and Delilah, who are really struggling. They reportedly don't even want to show up at the trial anymore because just being there is way too traumatic. And then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Cassie took the stand. 8 months pregnant and still standing strong, she faced the courtroom on day 2. And what she shared left the room absolutely crushed. Cassie is the prosecution's star witness, and her words carry serious weight. And from the second she opened her mouth, she confirmed what she'd already claimed in that lawsuit. Every single terrifying detail. She spoke about living in constant fear for more than 10 years of her life. Imagine being trapped like that, day in, day out. Cassie opened up about the dreams she once had too. When she signed to Diddy's label, she had high hopes, big plans. She poured her soul into the music, writing hundreds of songs. But what happened? Only a handful ever saw the light of day. According to her, she was supposed to release 9 full albums. 9, not one got released. And to make it worse, she says she never even got paid for her work. This wasn't just a toxic relationship. This was manipulation on a business level and a personal one. And hearing Cassie break it down like that, you could feel the entire courtroom shift. Diddy didn't just run Cassie's career, he ran her whole life. On the stand, Cassie revealed that he had a tight circle of loyal assistants like David James and Christina Coram, whose main job was to keep tabs on her. No matter where she went, someone was watching. She could never really escape. And when she did try to run, Diddy had people hunt her down, like she was property. And here's the messed up part. While Diddy was out living wild and seeing other women, the moment Cassie even thought about dating someone else, all hell broke loose. She said he'd track down her boyfriends, threaten them straight up, or worse. In one case, he even blew up their cars. That's not jealousy. That's control on a whole other level. According to Cassie, Diddy didn't want her focused on music anymore. Nope. He pulled her away from the studio and pushed her into Freakoffs full-time. That became her reality. She was just trying to survive in between them, barely holding herself together. But it gets even more disturbing. Remember those Freakoff tapes Diddy was always recording? During Cassie's testimony, they played them in court. Yeah, but they were so graphic that only the jury and the legal teams were allowed to see them. And that's not all. Prosecutors also showed photos. Clear evidence of Cassie's bruises from multiple incidents over the years. This wasn't just hearsay, this was physical proof. And from what insiders say, people in that courtroom were visibly shaken. Cassie's testimony just kept getting darker and more gut-wrenching. She told the courtroom about one night that still haunts her. Diddy dragged her out of a party, furious about something, and things went violent fast. She tried to escape, running into a bathroom and hiding under a toilet, hoping he'd leave her alone. But Diddy followed her in and kept going. He beat her while she was curled up, hiding in fear. By the time it was over, she was a mess. Her lip busted open, knots all over her head, and deep bruises everywhere. It was so bad that when Diddy's bodyguard walked in and saw her like that, he straight up broke down in tears. Even Diddy's own manager was crying. That tells you everything. These weren't strangers, these were his people, and even they couldn't stomach what they saw. The bodyguard eventually gave her an ice pack, but Cassie said by that point she'd learned to stay prepared. She kept gel with her at all times just to deal with bruises because she never knew when the next blow-up would come. That's how bad it got. She was treating injuries like they were part of her daily routine. And Diddy? He allegedly told her to cover it all up. When his friends or kids were around, she had to slap on makeup and act like everything was fine. Other times, he'd tell his staff to ship her off to a hotel for a week, out of sight, until the bruises faded. Even if she begged to go home or see her mom, she wasn't allowed. Cassie wasn't just isolated, she was trapped. Honestly, Cassie's testimony could go on for hours, and every new detail just hits harder than the last. And she's still not done. She's now diving into the texts, photos, and receipts that the prosecution dropped to build a solid timeline of what really went down between her and Diddy. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more intense, the courtroom got hit with a bombshell. The infamous hotel lobby video. This wasn't just a clip. It was the full 15-minute version, and the jury saw everything. The footage showed Diddy manhandling Cassie like she was nothing. She tried to get away, again and again, but he chased her down, throwing objects, tripping her up, and even dragging her across the carpet like some kind of scene out of a horror movie. Cassie was clearly calling for help, but nobody stepped in. No one stopped him. And why? 'Cause word is, Diddy allegedly paid the hotel $50,000 to bury that video. So imagine how much more is out there. How many moments like this got erased, deleted, or locked away forever because Diddy had the cash to make it disappear? And while all this horror was playing out in front of a silent courtroom, Jesse and Delilah were shaken. Again. They couldn't ignore how much of Cassie's pain mirrored what they remember seeing their own mother go through. It wasn't just a testimony anymore. It was a reflection of past trauma. Seeing it all laid out like this, It's breaking them. The twins, Jesse and Delilah, were still pretty young when Kim Porter passed, so there's a lot they likely didn't understand back then. But even kids can feel when something isn't right. And now, after hearing every gut-wrenching detail from Cassie's testimony, pieces are finally starting to click for them. They may not have seen it all, but they saw enough to know their mom wasn't being treated the way she deserved. Sources say that when things got especially bad at home, Kim would send the girls to stay with her close friend, Kimora Lee. She didn't want them to see the bruises. She tried to shield them, but the truth? She couldn't always protect them from everything. Kids pick up on more than we think. They read the room, the tension, the silence, and now they're realizing just how deep the damage went. After Cassie spoke out, people close to the family started connecting the dots. Turns out, just like Cassie, Kim would show up with mysterious bruises after those explosive arguments with Diddy. And it didn't stop there. Kim would disappear for days, hiding out in her home to recover from injuries, locked away from friends, from family. Sound familiar? Insiders now say Diddy kept tight control over Kim's life too. He allegedly tapped her phone, tracking who she was calling. Every move, every convo monitored. Kim wasn't just isolated, she was trapped in the same kind of nightmare Cassie lived through. And the twins? They're starting to realize their mom was silently fighting a war right in front of them. Diddy didn't just keep tabs on Kim, he had her shadowed. According to insiders, he had bodyguards following her everywhere, even during times when she thought he wasn't watching. He always had eyes on her. Every move she made, tracked. And like we said before, kids see everything. Even if they don't understand it at the time, they feel it. So if all these reports about Kim are real, then imagine how brutal it must be for Delilah and Jesse to now sit in that courtroom, piecing together just how much pain their mother actually went through. And as if reliving that trauma wasn't already soul-crushing, they've got to sit there listening to Diddy's own lawyers argue that nothing he did to Cassie, which now sounds eerily similar to what their mom endured, was even illegal. That's right. His legal team is spinning the whole thing, painting him as some jealous, emotional man instead of someone who systematically broke down the women closest to him because he knew no one would stop him. How twisted do you have to be to let your own daughters hear that kind of defense? They're sitting in the room while lawyers casually try to justify a man forcing women into degrading situations, controlling them, hurting them mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then saying, well, that was just their lifestyle. Like, seriously? Diddy's team is out here claiming Cassie and others were willing participants, ignoring the fear, the manipulation, the trauma. Doesn't matter what side you're on, one thing's for sure. Diddy's kids should have never been in that courtroom to hear all that. Period. And here's the part that really cuts deep. Diddy's daughters are the ones paying the highest price mentally and emotionally. According to reports, all this courtroom chaos has pushed them into full-blown panic attacks. They're spiraling so hard that therapy has become part of their regular routine now, just to keep themselves grounded. And if that's not enough, word is they've lost most of their friends too. People are backing away, not wanting to be associated with the drama surrounding their father. Let's be real, this trial is wrecking them. It's like a slow-motion train crash, and they're stuck in the front seat. At this point, Diddy might have to ditch the PR stunt of parading his kids in court if he doesn't want them to come out of this permanently scarred, if that damage hasn't already been done. 'Cause what kind of message does it send when your kids are forced to sit through graphic testimonies, violent footage, and lawyers justifying behavior no one should excuse? All while the world watches their every reaction? No matter where you stand on the case, one thing is clear. His kids never should have been dragged into this courtroom circus. So now the question is, what do you think about Diddy bringing his kids to court? Was it a smart legal move or a selfish one? Let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to stay locked in for what's coming next.